talking about consumption, how can you not talk about passenger vehicles, right? And who better than Shashank Srivastava from Maruti Suzuki India himself to highlight what's going on with the company and the sector overall as well. Shashank, great to have you on ET Now once again. Welcome back. And, industry channel checks have been indicating that in the month of August, the passenger vehicle demand was actually up 9% and Maruti sales were higher than the industries. What's been your analysis, whether this is a trend which is here to stay?
So far, this year has gone very well for the auto industry. So we have seen a record April, the highest ever May, highest ever June, highest ever July. Looks like the highest ever August. In fact, August numbers in the industry predicted to be just around the 355,000 mark, which could make it the highest ever month also. Last was September 2022, which was 355,400 odd vehicles. So yes, it's been a great run so far. And now we are into the festive season, the beginning in Onam festival in Kerala. That's where the festive season starts. Has been pretty good, almost a 25% jump in retails. So I think so far going is good. We have those couple of question marks though going forward. But yes, it's been good so far for the auto industry this year.
I was reading in one of the pink papers that the sedan inventory levels are at a 4-month high. So while the aggregate picture because of SUV may look strong, SUVs are selling and sedans are not selling. So is that a concern that one end of the market is doing well, other end is not doing well, and if sedans are not selling, there could be a discounting, discounting factor at play in the run-up to the festival season?
Yeah, so you're right. Actually, in some ways, you have, I keep saying, a tale of two cities. So we have certain models which have got excess inventory, sometimes going up to 50 days of stock as well. And there are others where you still have pending bookings. In other words, there is a waiting for those models and therefore very low inventory. Clearly, however, since July, we have seen a uptick in production in even those models which were earlier in short supply, thanks to the better availability of semiconductor related components. And that's the reason why the waiting periods would have been coming down last two 1.5 months in even those other models. Inventory, as you mentioned, is high, and it's not a 4-month high, it's a 4-year high. And of course, the last couple of years have been pretty tight as far as inventory is concerned due to various reasons. COVID lockdown, you had supply chain disruptions, semiconductor crisis, and so on and so forth. But yes, the last time we saw this level of inventory of almost 300,000 in the industry was in September 2019. So that's really a 4-year high. But expectedly, because people are preparing for a large retails in the upcoming festive season. So I think that's a normal phenomena where inventory is built up in the channels.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for clarifying on that. My immediate follow-up question is that, so can we ignore this inventory built up? Because what you're telling us that, look, this is inventory built up, which could be a precursor to the dealers expecting strong sales. This is not because sedans are not selling, and that is the reason why inventory levels are going higher. It's nothing to do with drop in demand.
Yeah. So as I said, the demand has been peak. We would probably see the highest ever August, and in fact the highest ever any month sale. It's possible. So clearly, in terms of volumes, this year has been a record. You can expect April-August figure to actually cross 1.7 million. It's only the first time ever. So in terms of absolute volume, sales have been pretty good. But therefore, in terms of inventory, yes, because we have the channel has got used to a lower inventory, even at inventory of 300,000 with actual retails of averaging around 325,000 a month is still less than 1 month of inventory. So even though in absolute terms, the inventory is high and 4-year high, but in terms of the number of days of inventory, it's certainly not so high. So yes, a short answer to your question is, yes, inventory is high, but it isn't because sales is slowing down.
Again, you'll appreciate the spirit of my question. When we talk about inventory, the next question which television anchors, they ask the management is that, are you looking at a production cut? So I'm assuming that there is no production cut, right?
No, absolutely. In fact, July production for us was very, very high. So is August. We just got over. In fact, we have pending bookings of almost 340,000 vehicles. So there is production cut. It is possible, though, by the way, that production you may modulate basis the inventory level of some models. So, but the overall numbers certainly are showing an uptick as far as production and sales is concerned.
Delve a little bit deeper. What we would really want to understand is what's lying in the inventory. Is it the newer models or is it the older ones?
No, it's not the newer models in the sense it's not those and expectedly so, because you have pending bookings for some of those models. For us, like for example, the Grand Vitara, the XL6, the Brezza, the Jimny, the Invicto, the Francs. These are Ertiga. These are models where we have large pending bookings. So obviously stocks is not there for. More stock is available in the other models. I wouldn't classify as old versus new, but more as the vehicles for which production was less earlier and now it is getting better versus vehicles for which production was higher earlier. And that is why the inventory buildup happened in those models.
So how do you tackle a situation like this?
Yes. Yeah. Did you ask a question?
Yes, that was the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to understand, like, I mean, how do you tackle a problem like this? What's the solution?
So it's fairly simple in that sense. You look at the inventory levels, and wherever the inventory levels, you fix a inventory level in the network and in the factory. And if you feel that that has crossed that particular level, you modulate your production. It's not as if you have to bring down the production of all models or increase the production of all models, because you have different lines and different plants having production of different models. You can always modulate that. And that's what actually has been happening. But the problem in the last year had been that we could not produce because of semiconductor shortfall some of the models. So necessarily you have to produce the other models, which may be even more, you may be producing more than what the demand was. And that had created the situation which we are finding today, a higher inventory in some models and absolutely very low inventory in the others. It is not, and I think that's what I mentioned earlier also, we need to look out for some factors which can impact negatively going forward. And there are some factors which we are watching very closely though.
Okay, and what's the outlook then when it comes to the PLI auto scheme? Because I understand that the committee has called for industry feedback. Have there been any issues, any difficulties that OEM, component companies are facing? What do you think would be one of the key discussion points here?
So the PLI scheme actually is encouraging, investment in areas for localization in technologies which are going to be in play in the near future. It's a very good scheme because it sort of gives incentive to for production of those technologies or to test those technologies. But yes, there would be obviously issues. And our industry body is in discussion with the government, as you rightly pointed out.
Just wanted to get in an outlook from you as well as to what the outlook is in terms of your take on the SUV space.
So SUV has been growing. It has grown from roughly 26% 4 years back to now almost 49% last month. So cumulatively this year, it is 47% of the industry. Expected to grow even further coming years, expected to plateau around the 52-53% mark. So it's going as now the largest segment of the overall market. So yes, the SUV numbers are good. It is getting more competitive though, because you have now almost 47, 48 models competing in this space. We have launched many SUVs as you would have observed. And one of the weak points which Maruti had was that our share in the SUV market was low. We were actually number 4 or number 5 manufacturer in terms of SUV sales. But with the introduction of these new models, we have seen, with our calculation, and now we have seen that in July, we became the number 1 SUV manufacturer. And that was one of our coveted objectives, which we had said at the beginning of the year. So we are hoping that that run will continue for our SUVs in this balanced part of the year as well.
Entire trend, Shashank, last but one question, of SUV sales commanding 50% plus market share. sedan sales dropping. Do you think this will only multiply more? Which is that, I mean, I never thought 3 years ago SUV will even be close to 30%, but the numbers are today's 50 plus. Do you think that 50 could become 60? Could it become 65?
So I just mentioned that our calculations show it should plateau around the 54, 53, 54% mark. But what has happened, it has come in earlier than what we had thought. So, but our projection basis research done in similar circumstances in other countries, it generally plateaus around the 53, 55% range, and that's what we are expecting in this. And regarding sedan, yes, sedan has been falling. Remember, sedan percentage of the overall industry was about 24% at its peak about 7 years back. It's been consistently falling down. It has come down to less than 10% now in the industry, and that's a pretty steep fall. And more worryingly, the fall has been in the mid sedan and the upper sedan segments. The sedan segment, if you say 10%, 9.5% is sedan, out of which 7% is entry sedan, which has remained quite strong. So out of a 4 lakh sale last year in sedan, 3 lakh plus was entry sedan. That has remained a little consistent, but the mid sedan and the upper sedans have fallen dramatically. And that is one of the reasons why most OEMs are not focusing on the sedan segment, looking either at the entry sedan or at the SUV space.
Festival season is about to start. It's going to be Janmashtami followed by Ganpati, then it's going to be Diwali, Dashera, Onam yesterday. Festival season has started. Are buyers in for a discount? Do you think this time around discount, which have not been there from last 2 years because of first COVID and then because of demand and supply equation, this year discounts could make a comeback?
Yeah, so discounts sort of have made a comeback already in some models. And you are right, last 2 years, we haven't seen discount across any model because all models were in short supply. But as we discussed earlier part of our conversation today, there are some models where you have excess inventory and excess supply, and those are the models where you will see discount. However, I don't see them going up so there is already some high level which won't go up because earlier the discounts have come even prior to the festive season because of that production mismatch that we talked about. And now that the production mismatch can be modulated because of better semiconductor availability, I would expect discounts not to rise from the current levels.
Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us.
Thank you.